And you're good.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi. It was nice meeting you.
Oh, nice to meet you too. Good luck to you.
All right. See you.
15 minutes, 15 to 20.
15 minutes, okay.
Welcome. On behalf of Fordham and the Center for Digital Transformation, it's our honor to present Ms. Karen Parrish to Fordham. Ms. Parrish is the Vice President of Industry Solutions for the public sector, and she is an executive in residence for the Center for Digital Transformation. Thank you for coming here to spend your time and insight with us.
I'm happy to be here, John. Thanks.
So with your extensive experience, I'm sure you've had a lot of hands-on knowledge of what happens in industry. And with these trends, you've been able to actually be at the forefront of the ever-changing technology world that we live in. So how important are business analytics for technology companies today? How is it a source of competitive advantage?
I think it's probably the most important thing that any company can do. And I'll tell you why. There's not a company out there that isn't suffering from the problem of having data. Everybody's got data. In fact, they have too much data. What they don't really have is information. And more importantly, what they don't have is insights on their information. So you could deal with a data deluge and feel like you have a handle on your customers, your patients, your citizens, but you really don't. Not unless you really get underneath the covers of who those customers are, what your citizens want, how you protect them, how you provide proper health care for them. That's when the data becomes very insightful. And at the core of that is the analysis on that data. So analytics is important to every industry and every company.
Data is not so useful if it can't be transformed into information.
That's exactly
which
right.
is what we use to make assumptions on that. Now, with this data, I'm sure businesses are moving towards transforming their existing processes to kind of keep up with the ever-changing technological trends. Could you provide us some examples of how business process transformation has occurred in the industries that you've worked with?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you my favorite example. Right after September 11th, IBM received a phone call from the New York City Police Department. And it was a pretty short phone call because I was the one that got it, that basically said, look, we never want to have another September 11th, so we got to fix this problem. We went down to meet with the police officers at the New York City Police Department and their IT community. And what we learned was that the data that was being delivered to the feet-on-the-street police officers who were out there every day providing the safety for our public citizens was weak and not delivered in real time, and certainly not putting them in a position where they would be out of harm's way. So we, along with the NYPD, created something called the Real-Time Crime Center. And the goal was to collect data from all sources, video feeds, 911 calls, as well as data that we had on any felons or any past history of any potential public safety issues. And that was all housed in a very large database, which the detectives had access to. And during the course of an incident in New York City, the detectives would be the one using the analytical tools to identify the important information that they had to share with the police officers on the street. It was a complete change in the way we did policing in New York. All of a sudden, every police officer had a laptop in their car. They were given handheld devices so that they could get event-driven information. Information was being shared with them that was relevant to them at the point in time when they needed it by subject matter experts who had spent their lives being detectives analyzing data. We had never done that before. And we have completely transformed the way we do policing in New York City.
That's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. It gives the good guys a leg up.
It sure does.
In the fight on crime. And we always say the bad guys always have an edge because they're the ones
not here, not New York.
That's great. Well, with your help.
No, it was their idea, but we certainly did a lot of work to help implement it. And I have to say they've been a great partner.
That's great. Now, what are like the tools and the new technologies that are really transforming your industry?
So,
how is virtualization, for instance, really changing the game, cloud computing, things like that?
There are a couple of interesting things that are happening. I think first and foremost, there's some interesting analytical tools that are available. We used to only have available to us tools that allowed us to do what I call rear view analytics, which means you look at the past, you analyze the past, and you try to determine how a situation might represent itself to you, whether it's how somebody buys a product, how somebody might deal with a bank, or how you keep your public safe. That's valuable, but looking at history is only one component. So we now have tools available to us where we can use information to predict behavior and even prescribe behavior based on best outcomes. So for instance, if we're able to determine that a child is going to get sick before a child gets sick, the behavior that we might have as a physician might be preventive in nature as opposed to treating a sick child. It's a very different way of changing how a physician works. It's a completely different business process, and it's all done based on predictive analytics. There are major development models out there on developing things that will live out in the cloud. And the cloud's a wonderful model because it gives us the ability to share information, if you want to share information. And when you're thinking about learning things like new patient protocols, this is actually very popular now in healthcare, where there are healthcare institutions that want to share the fact that they know how to treat cancer, and they want to share the fact that they can manage the lungs of a newborn baby better than any other hospital in the world. Being able to offer those kind of protocols through the cloud for other universities, research institutions, hospitals to get access to could be absolutely revolutionary in healthcare. And it's not done today. It's not done. So I would say cloud for sure. We also know that data sits in silos. It lives everywhere. And you're never going to have a situation where all that data, whether it's the petabytes that are being created on Facebook every day, or the terabytes that are being created from RFID tags in the stores, you're never going to be able to house it all in one place. So the concept of being able to virtualize the data is really important. Well, what does that mean? Well, I mean, at its very core, it's the ability for you to be able to see a view of the data independent of where it lives. That's really important because when you move data, you make mistakes. Things happen. It's like any time humans intervene, there could be a potential mistake. So we don't want to move data. We want to use data at its source, and oftentimes the source data is the best because it's real. It's the most valuable data, and you want to be able to put together pieces of a puzzle in many different ways to learn from it. So lots of new and interesting technologies out there.
That's great. It seems that the pace of the data growth is even outpacing the rate that technology is moving at. I mean, the price of storage has gone down precipitously, but I still don't think that it's able to really catch all of the data that we really, in the past, have just allowed fall by the wayside. But now we're starting to realize that the world is data, essentially. Everything around us could be made into a particular bit of data. And so the technologies that you outlined are really going to transform the world in a very significant way. And we're really just at the precipice of it. We're just at the beginning of it.
Yep.
And there are amazing things to come. Now, for students who are studying the world as it is now and for our future, what's your advice on what a Fordham student can do now that would impact his or her career choice?
So I was a Fordham student, and I wish somebody had asked me that question when I was here at Fordham. And maybe I might have taken a different path, I don't know, but I have learned over my 25 years at IBM what I do need to know, and I do want to share that. The first thing that's, I think, the most important is go with what your passion is. So figure out what your passion is. And most of you know that. Most of you guys have already figured out that there's something that you love, that you're passionate about, but you don't always know how to turn that into something that's lucrative. How can I do it to make a living? How am I going to pay for a mortgage? Those types of things. And that's where the other part of the skills come in. You need to focus on building skills that are needed in the marketplace. We have a huge shortage of skills in science and engineering. We have a huge shortage of skills in people who understand computer technologies. And I'm not necessarily talking about coding, although we need coders. I'm talking about people who can understand how technology can apply to business. So you should be taking technology classes. You should be learning about technology, but you should also be taking the softer sciences. You should be learning about how to apply technology in a sociological way, how to use psychology to understand the behavior of people so that you can apply technologies to potentially make their behavior more optimal or change their behavior if the behavior needs to be changed. a lot of what technology does can only take it as far as culture allows it to. Cultural change is behavioral change, and it's very much a part of how businesses function. There's a cultural side and there's a business side, and we have to understand both. I think that for anybody who studies the sciences, to know technology is going to be a feather in your cap. So I would say focus both on understanding technology, how it applies to your business, and then understanding the business that's of interest to you, whether it's finance or it's art or it's film. It doesn't really matter. Every one of those industries has a technology component. If we want to be competitive here in the United States, we have to produce a set of students who are going to come into the marketplace with those skills. And we're struggling. We're struggling. We need engineers, we need scientists, we need technologists, and we need people who understand business and are really, really passionate about those businesses. So during your course of time here, dabble in each of those and then pick one passion and one thing in a science and focus deep in it. That would be my recommendation.
It appears to me, at least, that technology is going to be the common language among all the disciplines. It seems like the thread that runs through everything, where everything overlaps with technology, and it's going to really be the thing that drives all of knowledge into a cohesive whole, and then we can then, with the data analytics tools, really draw inferences that we would never even dream possible, even 10 years ago.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today, and I'd like to especially thank Ms. Parrish for her time today. We appreciate your insights, and we hope that we will see you again.
Oh, I hope so too, and thank you very much for hosting me today. Thanks, John.
Okay, very good.
Good?
Very nice.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're a good interviewer.